Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Israel Brief with me, Rolene Marks, brought to you by Lay of the Land. We're in the final days of Pesach, Passover, and yes, you're probably wondering why I'm in a sweatshirt again. Well, the weather here is rather wonky, but before we get into today's news broadcast, I just want to say that there will be no Israel Brief tomorrow as we conclude Pesach. We will return as normal on Monday unless there is major breaking news. But I will tell you at the end of the broadcast where you can find us on social media, just in case you miss us over the next couple of days. I know I'm definitely going to miss you. But before we head off to frantically eat the last of our matzah, before we can welcome back the chametz, let's take a look at those top stories. And we begin with news that Israel has banned any non-Muslims from entering or ascending the Temple Mount for the last days of Ramadan. This year is quite a phenomenon. We have Passover or Pesach, Ramadan and Easter all coinciding at the same time, and of course following the high tensions at the Temple Mount and the incident at the Al-Aqsa on Friday. We want to return to as much of a status quo as possible to ensure the safety of worshippers of all religions. Now, earlier today, minor clashes occurred between worshippers or rioters inside the mosque who threw Molotov cocktails at security forces and set small fires in the mosque. Also, a more right-wing organization called Im Tirtzu announced that they are planning to go ahead with their flag march despite calls from the police not to do so. In fact, the police actually banned the march from taking place. But earlier today, in fact, literally about an hour or so ago, Prime Minister Bennett announced that he is ordering police to bar the flag march from entering the old city, from happening, and for Ben Gvir, who is seen as a very, very provocative politician, not to use the opportunity for political grandstanding to endanger the lives of people, the IDF and our soldiers. He did say that the flag march could go ahead on Jerusalem Day, which is probably the more logical day for this to happen anyway. And of course, we want to ensure as much calm as possible in the Old City and particularly on the Temple Mount. Meanwhile, earlier today, the Western Wall Heritage Foundation announced that about 20,000 worshippers had arrived for the second iteration of the Birkat Kohanim. This is the second blessing of the high priest, a very, very beautiful, beautiful ceremony. A couple of days ago, we had the first iteration. There weren't as many people as expected, but a big, big crowd today and going off relatively peaceful. But the international community is weighing in on the tensions in Jerusalem. Yesterday, the UN Security Council met, and while we don't have details of the meeting as yet, we know that the envoy to the Middle East was very clear not to blame either side for the increased tension. Meanwhile, the United Arab Emirates foreign minister summoned the Israeli ambassador to Abu Dhabi for a dressing down, talking about the tensions on Al-Aqsa and behavior of certain police officers. Now, Israel is a democracy, and any police officer that is seen to be violating his code of conduct will be disciplined. The United Arab Emirates also announced that they will no longer be participating in the Independence Day flyover. This would have been a historic moment for both countries, but from their perspective, we understand it is sensitive. It is, of course, sensitive at the moment as there is a lot of tension, and we hope that maybe next year or the next major occasion, we will have our Abrahamic brothers flying safely beside us. Hamas have also issued their warning, saying their fingers are on the trigger for any what they call desecration of the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Now, we have to remember that Hamas is largely behind this incitement. They incite the masses by saying Israeli soldiers are storming Al-Aqsa, the Al-Aqsa is under threat, worshippers are under threat, Israelis are in fact killing worshippers inside the mosque. That is not true. The facts are out there, the footage is out there. Make sure that you are informed, and you can help other people being informed by sharing the content that we share with you on the Israel Brief and on Lay of the Land. But we now go to some more positive news, and we've been waiting for 2 years to take off our masks. And earlier today, Prime Minister Bennett and Health Minister Nitzan Horowitz announced that come Saturday night, which is the end of Chag, which is the end of Shabbat, Israelis will no longer have to wear their masks indoors. There is a few exceptions, rather. If you are on a plane, if you're visiting a hospital, an elderly care facility, or if you're on your way to quarantine. In other words, places where there could be high infection rates, you are still required to wear your mask. Now, this does have to go through the Knesset to be okayed, but it looks like this is likely to pass, and many very relieved Israelis. We now go to the United States, and the state of Arizona have announced that they have adopted the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism. This is the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance's working definition of anti-Semitism. Now, in Arizona, it was delayed for a while, and the reason is simple. The Arizona Holocaust Education Bill did not contain IHRA, or the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism. And there were officials who thought that in order for a bill that focuses on Holocaust education and ensures that the Holocaust is not denied, you need to have some kind of definition. You need to include IHRA. And now that IHRA has been adopted, it looks like the education bill will be passed. And this couldn't come at a more important time as levels of anti-Semitism rise astronomically around the world, including the United States. We conclude our broadcast by going to Poland, and yesterday marked 79 years since the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising. The Warsaw Ghetto Memorial Foundation held a ceremony, and it was precluded by a siren that went through the city of Warsaw at 12 p.m. The Polish President Andrzej Duda attended, as did government officials, and the ceremony has been referred to as Glory to the Heroes. Now, next week, Israel will mark Yom HaShoah. That coincides with the Hebrew anniversary of the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising. It is a day separate to International Holocaust Remembrance Day. It is a day where we remember specifically the Jewish victims, heroes, and martyrs who lost their lives by being brutally murdered by the Nazi regime during the Holocaust. And stay tuned next week for our special broadcasts about that. So now your reminder of where you can find our content. Our website is www.layoftheland.online. We'll be back next week with a whole whack of original content. But in the meantime, all our stuff is archived according to month and according to theme and subject. So enjoy your weekend perusing our site. And just a reminder that we also post to our Facebook page. If you haven't joined our community, you can find us at Lottle's site. Give us a like, give us a follow, share our content. You know you want to. And our YouTube channel is The Israel Brief, and it would really help us educate as many people as possible if you clicked on that subscribe button, and of course like and share our content. And we're on Twitter as well at Lay of the Land 5. That's at Lay of the Land 5. So I want to wish you and yours a very, very safe and healthy weekend. Please enjoy the rest of your Pesach. Please have a good rest over Shabbat. And just a reminder that there will be no Israel brief tomorrow unless there's major breaking news. But from all of us to all of you, Chag Sameach, Shabbat Shalom, have a wonderful weekend, and we've got a date on Monday.